Good morning. It is a brutally cold day today here in North Carolina. Right now it is 19 degrees Fahrenheit. It is brutally cold, and today I'm going to talk about the ethical and effective way to use a Bluetooth speaker to attract birds for wildlife photography. So come along and enjoy this adventure. So when you're setting up a Bluetooth speaker, there's a couple things that you have to think about. One is the ethics of using the speaker. For me, for the most part, using a Bluetooth speaker, as long as you're not being abusive, can be a very effective way to call birds to you in this time of year. You're not going to interfere with breeding behavior. You're not going to interfere with migration because the migration's over. So you're just basically, these birds are here. The other thing you want to think about is where are you going to attract these birds from? Now, where I am right now, it's a thin piece of woods that come together, and there's a field here, there's a field here, and on both ends of this, there's a brook right here in front of me, there is a big stretch of woods here. So we're potentially going to attract birds from the fields and from different areas of the woods. The other advantage of this is that birds are kind of like, because we have a thin area of forest here, they're kind of like funneled into where we are. So the other thing we have to think about is light. Now, the sun is over here. I'm going to set up the Bluetooth speaker right here, and I'm going to set myself up between the Bluetooth speaker and obviously the sun so that I have really good light on these birds here. Because unlike our normal situation where we kind of wander through the woods and photograph the birds, in this situation here, we're going to attract the bird to us. So we want to take as much advantage of our ability as we can. Now, wearing camouflage isn't going to hurt you. It's something that I think is very effective. Now, this camouflage isn't the best camouflage for where I am right now. It has been snowing here, and there is a little bit of snow. But I do find that white snowy camo does work when there's no leaves on the trees. And I also find this works very good on beaches. So those few things can definitely help you attract and be able to see more birds. So I have myself set up. The sun is right here, the call is right here. I'm about 3 yards away from it. It's and the reason why I use that distance is I think I'm far enough away so that the birds don't associate me with the call. Now, the calls I use are mostly owl calls or flock calls. I find that the white-crowned sparrow call is a really good way to call in birds. Another call that I use is the screech owl. Here in the United States, I find those two calls are the most effective calls to use, especially here in the wintertime. Now, I generally don't use breeding calls. Sometimes, you can get away with it. The birds will come to see what's going on. But for the most part, I use those two calls here. And what I'll do is I'll call for a minute or two. And then what I'll do is wait 10, 15 minutes and then do it again and see what the activity does. And if I don't see a lot of activity, I'll move somewhere else and see what's going on here. But what I'm going to do right now is make an owl call and see what comes in. Well, we're going to try something a little bit different here. It called in some birds, but they weren't stopping. They were coming in and basically just taking off again. They weren't stopping long enough for me to take a picture of them. So I'm going to move somewhere else and see if maybe some other birds will be more cooperative. Well, I just want to say this proves this morning. Use the speaker. The birds will come from anywhere where you are. And that's really not true. I was actually about 30 yards away from where I am now, and I could see birds landing in this thick brushy stuff here, but they weren't coming into the forest where I was. So I've kind of moved over here to try to set up here, see if I can call some birds into where I am right now. Again, calling with a speaker isn't a foolproof way to attract the birds. I mean, for whatever reason, the birds might be more interested in something else than whatever's going on here. So that's an important thing to think about. And when you're doing this, you shouldn't get discouraged if it doesn't work the first time. Move a little bit, try a little different spot, and maybe that will help a little bit. So what I'm going to try and do is do a little calling and see what happens here. Holy cow. I just kind of stopped here. I've photographed winter wrens here before, and I just kind of was sitting here going, I'll try for winter wren, see what happens here. And I just made a contact call by the winter wren here, and it literally came in, and it was there for maybe 4 or 5 shots, and it took off, and it flew quite a distance off. But that's my first winter wren for 2025. I'm just excited about that. Anyways, if these photographs are any good, here they are. Well, using a Bluetooth speaker is not a bulletproof way of attracting birds. The birds have to be in the mood to be attracted to it. And I think because it's so cold out today, I think that had a real negative effect on the birds responding to the owl calls and the chickadee calls and the other calls like that. But it can be very effective in calling birds. Now, as you saw me use the call to attract the winter wren, you can definitely use a Bluetooth speaker for targeted callings, like I did for calling in that winter wren. The problem that you run into is that once the bird comes in and realizes that it's not a winter wren calling, it's something else, they know something's up when they first hear the call. They come there because they're curious and wondering what's going on. As soon as they realize it's not a net or winter wren, they're out of there. They're like, this is not safe, I'm leaving here. And that's exactly what that winter wren did. Came in, it saw the speaker, it was there for a few seconds, and then took off. And it really took off. It went I saw it flying at least 30 yards away from me. So targeting calling can definitely work, but you have to be right on your ball when you get there, because they're not going to stick around to see what's going on. So I want to thank you for watching. If you got anything out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel, because that really helps us in YouTube world. Become a Patreon supporter. Your support allows us to keep doing this. My name is Leahy, and thank you for watching.